morning and welcome to World Talks here on TVP World with me, Ashim Kumar. French President Emmanuel Macron is scheduled to pay a visit to Warsaw on Thursday, says Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk. The French leader is said to discuss his recent talks with US President-elect Donald Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy, as well as a possible EU peacekeeping mission if Ukraine does decide to sue for peace. This is President Macron's second visit to Warsaw. Does this reflect a shift in Polish-French relations and a more unified approach to bringing peace to Ukraine? To discuss this, we're joined by Romain Le Quiniou, Managing Director, Eurocreative, and a regular contributor. Welcome back, Mr. Quiniou, TVP World.
Good morning.
Good morning. OK, so what's this meeting all about, sir, between Macron and Tusk?
Yes, I think that the key words that we need to remember is coordination. And Macron is coming to Poland at a very busy time in France, so it means that it's very important for France and for President Macron to come to Warsaw. Why? Two reasons, I think. The first one is about telling about to Prime Minister Tusk as well as to President Duda what happened in Paris last week, which was a trilogue between Macron as well as President-elect Donald Trump and President of Ukraine Volodymyr Zelenskyy. And I think that he wants to tell Poland what was the discussion about, how can we hope for the potential negotiations in Ukraine, and as well as the new transatlantic relations, or at least how we can find some coordination between Europeans there. And second is indeed about Ukraine and what the Europeans can do together. We know that over the past few weeks there has been some discussions in Washington on what potential negotiations would mean, what a potential peace would mean for Ukraine, and it means European security guarantees. And we know that at the moment there are discussions about the European peacekeeping missions. And if we talk about the European peacekeeping mission, of course, France and Poland, as two of the most important military powers in the EU, have to coordinate because they will be the two most important nations. Also, maybe to further some coordination with Germany, Italy, and let's not forget the United Kingdom. But here, France and Poland will play a tremendous role.
OK, thanks. I mean, there's a lot to unpick there. Let's start with the meeting between President Zelenskyy, President Macron and President-elect Trump. What do you believe the main outcomes were? You've already mentioned peacekeeping force. You've already mentioned some peacemaking efforts. But what else have you heard? Can you put some meat on those bones?
Well, I think that we didn't hear a lot since from the meeting. It was a short meeting, about 30 minutes, but I think that it was a great initiative from President Macron to gather Zelenskyy and Trump. And so it's important for them to talk. It's important for them to understand each other, what Trump wants. And here we are not anymore in the election campaign, so they can have a more direct and frank conversation on how the United States see a potential peace. And in the same time, it's very important for President Zelenskyy to explain to Donald Trump in visu, what is his plan when it comes to Ukraine's peace plan. So I think that it was productive. It seems that from the discussion, or at least since the comment that both Trump and Zelenskyy made, it was a fairly positive meeting, and it's an important step. It's not everything. We know that it will be long, it will be painful, it will be complicated, but it is very important for them to talk, to discuss. And now it's very important for Europeans to coordinate and to discuss really what they can offer, what they can provide to Ukraine in terms of security guarantees, because we know that from Washington perspective, and I think this is the right perspective, the Europeans should be leading the efforts when it comes to providing Ukraine security guarantees.
Understood. Now, it's quite interesting, perhaps, that the first visit President Macron decided to make after this meeting was to Poland. What does that reflect? Why does President Macron see this as a country with which he should be more aligned?
Again, I think that when we talk about security and defense, France and Poland are two of the most important players in the European Union because of the size of their military, because of the position they've been taken. We know that Poland has been in the right position for many years, explaining that Russia was a threat not only for the eastern flank but for all of Europe. And Poland, as well as Baltic states and a few other countries in the eastern flank, were right. I think it translates two things. On the first side, it translates the fact that Poland has a new role and is one of the leaders in Europe when it comes to strategic ambitions and to protect Europe, meaning reinforcing security, reinforcing defense capacities of Europeans. And the second illustration is that I think that France has been changing its approach. We know that in the past, Macron has been criticized for a very unilateral approach, and it's not just about Macron. France has been doing that for many years. But I think that now President Macron understands very well the need to coordinate, the need to find partners when it comes to providing Europe a more strategic approach and behavior. And I think here, even if some interest, even if some interpretations of the current reality remain between Poland and France. That's normal. This is how it functions. But I think that there is a more and more common approach when it comes to how and why make Europe more strategic, make Europe more powerful, make Europe more secure. And I think here we will see it continuing.
On that strategic security point, I want to move now to the peacekeeping force. How do you see that coming together? Because clearly it should be a multinational force, multi-European force involved. How do you think this is going to pan out, and how politically acceptable is it going to be?
First, we need to remind that a peacekeeping mission can happen only if Ukraine accepts to have a peace. And Ukraine will accept a peace only if it's fair. So this is the thing to remember, and this is the thing to remind to people when we talk about this. Now, what does it mean, European peacekeeping mission? Some article on Politico were mentioning the possibility to have 40,000 soldiers being deployed on a potential demarcation line. Okay, this is the first thing. We know that it will be a kind of coalition of willing. There will not be, EU initiative per se, because most probably not every country will accept to deploy soldiers or will accept to deploy peacekeeping mission there. So it will be a peacekeeping mission that is led by willing countries. And here we have to say that the most important military powers in the EU and in Europe will be leading this. So again, to remember, France, Poland for sure, Germany, Italy can be candidates for that. We need to remember also the importance of the United Kingdom in this prospect. But the interesting thing also is that what is being discussed at the moment, and we know that it's a position that Ukraine is taking at the moment, that a peacekeeping mission should not be just about Europeans, and we should invite as well countries from the global south. Let's think about India, let's think about Turkey. Let's see, I don't know, we don't know at the moment, but it's sure that Ukraine wants to involve also extra-European countries, and I think that they are right here.
Understood. Now, let's talk about money and sanctions for a second. The US has made $20 billion available to Ukraine as a loan, as a 30-year loan, as the EU and other G7 countries have promised to do. So a total of $50 billion. And it's going to be financed using seized Russian assets. Now, finance ministers are meeting at the same time. How does this all come together?
Well, at the moment, when it comes to the frozen assets from Russia, we don't really know. There hasn't been so much progress on the sides of Europe. There has been an agreement on basically taking over the benefits of this money that are still at the banks, but there is no agreement, and we cannot see as of today an agreement when it comes to taking over all these frozen assets, because it's still a very different perspective between Washington and the European and some European capitals, at least when it comes to this frozen frozen assets. But that's for sure that would help to, maybe not just provide money for the security and defense, but also in the perspective of the reconstruction. For the moment, we know that the perspective is still different. We know that Washington would like to see the Europeans to take these frozen assets. We will see how pressing the next administration from Trump will be. But what is sure overall is that the Europeans need to continue to sustain financial support to Ukraine when it comes to reinforcing its military and defense capabilities. And it's not in the short run, it's in the long run. When we talk about potential peace agreement, it means that Europeans will need to continue this support, and this support can remain for very long. This is about security guarantees. And what we know is that as of today in Europe, in European countries, there are debates about how much we can provide to Ukraine, how much we can provide to ourselves also when it comes to, budget dedicated to security and defense. Mark Rutte, now the Secretary General of NATO, said that the obvious over the past few days that the 2% of GDP devoted to defense and security is not enough. We all know that. So it means that we should go to 3, 4, 5% maybe for certain countries, which Poland is already trying to follow. So we need to have a very strict and clear discussion, frank and honest as well, when it comes to what we can provide. And here, it's not just a discussion between allies and partners. This is also a discussion that our respective national leaders should have with their population. We need to tell citizens that the situation is serious, that we need to support Ukraine, we need to support ourselves when it comes to defense and security, which means that we need to find money to sustain our defense and security in Europe to be more protected and more secure.
Frank, honest and clear. I hope that that's what our conversation was as well. Mr. Le Quiniou, thank you very much for your analysis today. Have a good day.
Thank you very much. Always a pleasure. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye now. That's all from us in this episode of World Talks. Don't go away. Lots more coming up.